Hello, it's Shelly again. Different camera this time, and I'm inside, so we'll see how this works out. Today, I'm going to review a few more movies, and we'll see how it goes out. First off, this is an oldie but a goodie, and I'm not going to lift them up because I'm using a webcam, so it looks all backwards when you look at it, but it's the Monster Club. I actually bought the Blu-ray release. So I loved this movie when I was a kid, and I probably haven't seen it since then, but I was so glad I bought this on Blu-ray because I had such great memories, and it's definitely still stands the test of time. It's obviously kind of that British feel of a horror movie anthology, but it takes place with John Carradine is an author, and he gets stumbled upon by Vincent Price, who's your everyday vampire, and takes him to a great, a lodge, membership club, whatever you want to refer to it, but it's for monsters exclusively. And throughout the night, as he's talking to him, he also tells him stories about a couple different stories regarding different types of monsters. The first one is I forgot what it's called, but it's the one that whistles, and that one's romantic, but not so much, and it makes you definitely feel sympathy for the monster in question, because really the humans are more monsters than the monster in this scenario. The next one's another one, and the next anthology features Donald Pleasance, and it involves a boy growing up as a vampire. Also includes Britt Eklund. I can't pronounce her name. I'm sorry. Who's more known for the Wicker Man and her naked dance scene than anything, and whoever she could get, who's knocked her up throughout the years because she has multiple kids with famous people. Not to say anything's wrong with that, but hey, everyone's got their own thing. We're just gonna do the typical Shelly thing, which is get a drink. Sorry about that little. Ooh. Yeah, I can see how bad that looks now too. Oh. The third story involves um, kind of like these ghoul hybrids, and it talks about a director wanting to go on set trying to find that perfect location. Note to self: never go to those perfect location places. Throughout the stories, we see Vincent. We go back to Vincent Price and John Carradine. We hear great music of its time. It's fun. It has the catchy tune. Has different feel of it, and it's really just has the greatest. It's one of those happy fun movies of the. I think it's early 80s. I think. What year does it say? Um, let's see. I cannot find it. 1980. So I was right. Early 80s. It's just a great feel to the movie. It's lots of fun, and the ending's great. Now, if you're looking for great special effects in this movie, you're probably going to be mistaken. It's not that sort of movie. The Blu-ray's pretty decent quality. It involves the Nightmare Theater mode with Katarina, which, no offense, I've gotten a few of these movies where Katarina hosts it. Now, I would say this: if you're getting the movie to have a horror host it, really, Katarina is not the best. She knows stuff about the movie, but it doesn't feel like your classic horror host. So, other than that, I wouldn't buy it especially for that. But these are great movies. So this was one I bought for the Blu-ray, and then another one I bought where it had her Nightmare Theater was also Incubus, and I'm not talking Shatner or some Colin Firth. I'm talking about that Canadian Incubus John Cassavetes movie back in the day. Um, Again, we're referencing Monster Club, and another great movie. I swear, this and Monster Squad were movies I could just watch left and right growing up. So, out of the scale, uh, probably about 7.5 to 8. Nostalgia really does bring into it, and it's a great movie. So I'd recommend it. Recommend it, Blu-ray or non-Blu-ray. Just go for it. If you haven't seen it, I don't know why you haven't. It's one of those ones I remember watching on Dr. Paul Bearer's Creature Feature back in the day. Mm. So, I'm pausing the TV. I'm realizing I had it still on. The next one is a documentary, and it's called Horror Business. And as I've said before, because my pronunciation is so off, it's HORROR business. Now, the reason I bought this movie was primarily because of the movie Werewolf Fever. I previously reviewed that with some other movies, as you probably remember, outside in the red lit outside area. Next time I do that, I'll probably plan that out a little bit better with the lighting. Anyways, one of the directors in that movie was, that director was Brian Singleton, and he's minorly featured in this documentary. The documentary is basically focuses on 4 or 5 main, maybe 3 or 4 actually, main directors who are low budget independent directors doing horror movies. There's also a couple features of a couple other side directors, including Brian Singleton, who've done a couple other little items. So they're more minorly featured. The other one's primarily featured. So, in concept, the theory sounds really great. I know it's got, if you look on this, it talks about, oh, the great reviews and this and that. But honestly, I really found this probably not one of the most exciting documentaries. Now, I love documentaries. I think I've mentioned before, I love Machete, Maidens, Unleashed. It's one of my favorite. It actually made me want to go out and check out some of the movies that I hadn't seen that was featured in there. I love Dogtown and the Z Boys, which is a great documentary. I wouldn't even watch the Lords of Dogtown real drama based on true story thing, because Dogtown and the Z Boys was great. Another great documentary is American Scary. So what makes those documentaries superior to this one? Honestly, I'm not really sure. You could tell that those documentaries had the same thing as this, that has heart, that the person who's doing the documentary really loves it. But this documentary has it has a few of the bad traits that you see in a lot of documentaries. One of which being, it felt extremely long. There's nothing wrong with an hour and a half, 2 hour documentary, but it's gotta feel like the right pacing. I saw a documentary about the Z Channel, and that was a great documentary. I was into it, and I can't tell you how long it was, but it didn't feel that long. This one really did, and I kept on checking. After the first half an hour, I had to pause it, go off and do something, come back in, watch the next half an hour, repeat. There was something about this film that just really wasn't catching me, even though the whole plot point of the thing about these low budget filmmakers and what they do and how they inspired and how they persevered through all odds and what they go through should have been a movie that I would have loved. But I've noticed a few things. One, some of the individual interviews, not when they're doing like the main guys, but some of like the Lloyd Kaufmans, the Herschel Gordon Lewis, even well, my lord, I cannot believe his name. I can't believe I forgot somebody's name. But some of the other kind of higher name ones, it almost seemed like I know they were going for this artistic item, so they angled it upward and so on. But seriously, cutting off some of a person's head, that's not artistic. That just shows that you did it, whatever. I'm hoping that they just made a mistake and this was their angle to create it. Or maybe they just want something on camera. I can't even guess. So that was a pet peeve, but it's not the worst. I think my worst thing about this documentary is they seem to focus, of all the 3 or 4 main ones, they focus on 2 primarily. And one guy is nice, but basically says he does have drinking problems, and the only way but he won't let that get in the way of his filming, which is commendable, but with that said, he is so boring. It takes you a while to get through some of the stuff, so they downplayed his a little, but he's still like one of the major 2. The other guy who's featured probably more prominently, and I won't say nothing about any of the filmmakers' films because honestly, they're still doing better than I have. I haven't filmed anything. I mean, I've helped out friends and stuff, so a pure idea come to life and do all the hard work. it takes a lot. So I won't say anything about his films, especially with this being released what in '05, '06. It released in '06, so probably it filmed in '04, '05, something like that. So the video technology was a little different for when they showed the scenes. But and I cannot tell you which director it was, but there was one guy who's a pretentious asshole. I'm not trying to be rude, but he is. There's nothing. Why would I want to spend majority of this movie watching what he thinks about films, how he thinks they should be, how this and that and that, if I hate the asshole it's leading toward? Same like Zombie Island. Italian zombie movie. I don't mind the different characters. I can even deal with flawed or slightly kind of assholes with a heart of gold. But your asshole who's pretentious, you really said, and the kind of the things he says gives everything that you wouldn't want to say. He said, "How could you be an actor for a coke scene if you don't actually do cocaine?" Now, I'm not an actor, so I won't say, and I agree. You should write from what you experience and kind of what's in your mind and so on. But with that all said, I'm not promoting people to do cocaine, heroin, stuff like that. Pot's a whole other story, and drinking is a whole different story. But with that said, just certain things. He seemed like he was very asshole. Even the people who had to collaborate with him. There was a writer who he collaborated with, who was actually in the film, was very seemed interesting. Something about this guy just rubbed me the wrong way, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't just me. Our friend Kyle was coming over, and he was watching part of it, and he felt the same way. And he also thought the documentary was a little boring. Of the main group that it was focused on, the director that I enjoyed the most was the one who talked about drive-in movies and how that inspired him and how to be a filmmaker and how he grew up and he loved the drive-in film and this and that. And I made a joke. He was saying, my parents took me them when I was younger and this and that. And I'm thinking, probably was conceived in a drive-in. But guess what? It has a great flow. And his passion was probably different. It wasn't boring. It was interesting. It just had a good feel. And I would have rather had more of the focus on him in his films. I'm suspecting that he wasn't filming something at that moment because it seemed they focused on the main two guys who were filming something readily at that time. Again, it mentioned director Brian Singleton, who was a bit younger than in the documentary for Werewolf Fever, since it was many years before that. How he was just showing, it showed one of his earlier works, something like Zombie Cop versus Alien something or another. Sorry, can't remember it. And it was a short or something. And how he was working on doing another thing. And I was like, okay, cool. I would have liked a little more from him just because I saw where he ended up being with Werewolf Fever. But would have liked to see a little nice progression. They showed the set of, what is it? Zombie Honeymoon, which I remember seeing at the video store. So seeing that, and it's like, oh, okay, that's cool. So I would say it's really not probably the best of the documentaries I've seen. Like I said, it tries and it does have a great concept, but it's not going to be the one to watch. And honestly, I'd probably give it like a 3.5 to 4. It really does try, and I give them points for that. But they just should have edited it differently so that the main characters are a different. That you have a different source of the main, and they're not characters, they're actual people, but the main focus weren't the ones they have. Before I get to the last movie, why don't I go ahead and tell you about a documentary that I love, which, as I've mentioned numerous times, is Machete, Maidens Unleashed, which I believe is on Netflix, and it's on Epix Online. This is one of those classic documentaries that the director really, you can feel the passion. I always say a good documentary, you can always tell because the love the people feel for something comes out of the movie. And Machete Maidens Unleashed is definitely that movie. What the film is really about is all the low budget cult exploitation movies of the 70s. And some of them were very early 80s, but I think they're primarily focused on the 70s and late 60s. And how it was all filmed in the Philippines, and this love of the movie making industry with Philippines and different things, cheap labor and all that, but the different adventures and stories and the type of movies that came out of it, which include the Roger Corman 70s movies that we all love, and include kind of some of the other fun stuff that weren't just Corman movies. And literally, if I never saw that documentary, I would have never known about Wang Wang, who is I love. I actually now own two Wang Wang movies. I don't know how many Wang Wang movies there are in the world, but just so you know, Wang Wang's like this, I don't know, maybe he's 3 feet, 2 feet, something feet, 2 feet. I don't know. Maybe 2 or 3 feet tall, little person, obviously Filipino, who did the spoofs of James Bond movies, but as a Filipino and who's what as a little person, and he was Agent Double O instead 007, and the movies are hilarious. They're dubbed with the greatest lines and accents I swear I've ever heard. The first one has better accents. The second one's a better movie, and those movies are For Your Height Only and The Impossible Kid. But back to the original point of Machete, Maidens Unleashed, it mentions Wang Wang. It mentions these different things that came out of there, and how filming in the Philippines was back in the day, and how at the same time you're filming all these jungle war jungle, I guess, revolutionary movies, or all these low budget sort of movies, kind of doing whatever and saying whatever you want. You have people who are basically going through their own mini revolution at the same time with the country and the dictatorship. So I don't know. I can't. I don't know anyone who hasn't seen that documentary who hasn't loved it. And I'd recommend anyone who loves documentaries to watch it. Every time I'm like, oh, I don't know what to watch, Machete Maidens Unleashed goes in. And I'm surprised I don't own a physical copy, because I just love this movie so much. It's probably just because it's still instant. There's going to be a time I can't watch it instant, and I'm going to be crying and end up buying it on Blu-ray probably nonetheless. So it's got to be good if I'm willing to buy it on Blu-ray. Again, Machete Unleashed is on Netflix Instant. So if you have a Netflix account, you can do that. It's on Epix on demand, or their streaming service online. So if you have Epix, which, oh my god, Epix is the greatest channel ever. I love Epix for numerous reasons. I wish I had all the Epix channels. My cable provider only provides Epix and Epix 2. Epix 3, of course, is the driving channel. Of course, my cable provider doesn't offer that. So, say hi, David. I'm recording. You may not want to show what you were just doing. Poor David's just had his teeth pulled, so he had to pull his wisdom teeth. So he's in a little pain right now. So we're not going to object him to any more discussion. Okay, so we are on to the final movie. This is actually a bootleg copy I bought a couple years back, and my buddy Tom will probably say till the day is long, why did I wait so long to watch a movie he had recommended? The movie is Last House on Dead End Street. You might as well walk past here. I know, but you were busy, so I'm doing it this way. I'll make you record me later. Do you want to walk by back to your death metal room?
No, just focus on what you're doing.
Okay, so he's being sweet. So, Last House on Dead End Street. Wow. I don't know why I never watched this before. I've heard about this probably for the last 6 years. And Buddy Tom has mentioned it to me numerous times. And and he's always mentioned it. And and I've heard other friends mention it. So why I never decided to watch it, I don't know. Sometimes I get in my head to procrastinate, and I just wait forever. So, as a result, I decided, hey, I'm going to watch this. I bought this bootleg cut a while back at probably one of the cinema wastelands. It was like a $5 bootleg or $10. Something super cheap. Something so much I don't even remember. Maybe like a $5 bootleg or something. Well, so I guess the best way to say this movie is it's obviously 77, the year my husband was born, so awesome points for that. Sometimes you forget how much movies have come, or the exploitation movement has moved, or the cult movie scene has moved, until you see something that really jars you and still shocks you to this day. So this movie's basically a movie within a movie sort of thing. So there's these. It starts off involving this kind of circle of people that like showing these, I guess, black market movies that usually involve women and women or different sexual things and so on. And all of a sudden, moving through the ranks of one group is this guy's movies that look so real. It looks like someone's being killed or someone's being attacked or different horrific images. But, it has to be fake. Why not? It's gotta be. And the people who he's selling it to are loving it. Why? Because they make more money. Because there are sick effers out there. I would say fuck, but why not? I just did. Sick fuckers out there that will watch anything and want to go beyond because they get off on that. Okay, with that said, I do think Michael Madsen Reservoir Dogs when he cut off the ear was pretty hot, and I let have my moments. But this is like a whole different realm of things. And actually, as I'm watching this, I can almost see where in today's culture we're getting closer and closer to this point. But I'm not going to go into that whole society and where we are and how violent we are as a nation. Because really, and I'm talking about Americans, but obviously it's not just America because people around the world do things. But it's easier to focus on your own home than others because you see the news every day. So as a result, this movie seems very much ahead of its time and looking for the direction. So what we find out is later that this guy and his troubled crew of misfits end up kidnapping those people that help sell his film, that do it, and really prove that his stuff is real as they make their newest film, for because they really want to get out there what they need to do. And what you would think would be just, hey, it's chaos and so on, and just a way to torture people for fun, for the film, for the entertainment value. And really, after we've seen movies nowadays like Hostel and all those others where it's really torturing for people's enjoyment, it's not hard to see where it comes from. Now, it's a great movie. It really does say, it's not just the shockingness, because it really has shock value. Even after all these years, I mean, this film is what? It's 2013. This film is like 35, 36, almost 36 years old. Maybe 36, depending on when it was released. Um, 36 years old, and it still has those shocking features. I was watching it today, and David literally says, "Oh my god, what the hell is going on? That is so gross." 36 years later, it still has the way of saying, "Oh my god, that is so gross. That is so whatever, twisted." I mean, that says it all. I guess that's really what it says. It's a great film. I mean, I can't believe I don't know how else to say it. I can't believe I procrastinated so long to watch this movie there because it's so great. I literally don't want to just own a bad bootleg copy. I want to own a legitimate good copy now. So that's probably what I'll be tracking down next. So I would give this an 8.5. I mean, it's really good. It's one of those that really, it's obviously stood the test of time, and it will continue staying the test of time. I think that's really it for tonight. I might in a few days do some more. I'm trying to get through some of these just because I want to include something I've seen and something I haven't seen. I think I still have Demon Divas to watch that I've owned for like over a year now. I bought at Cinema Wasteland. I think I have something called Boogeyman that I bought at Wasteland a year and a half ago, and I still need to watch. So I need to do that. I'm I ordered yet another Brian Singleton film, something called Forest of the Dead, not to be confused with Severed Forest of the Dead. So we'll see how that looks. Seeing that this is before Werewolf Fever, I'm already going in it with the set that it's probably going to have really bad visual picture wise, which is probably going to be offsetting because it's really bad. And hopefully, Cult Movie Mania have something for me to watch out. I still want to watch my friend's movie, The Assignment, which I'd only seen a rough cut. I haven't seen a nice, beautiful, cleaned up cut, which I heard she did do, because there were some different issues beforehand. So once I see that, I'll review that. And I don't know, there's a whole list of movies I want to watch that I want to go ahead and review. Whether you find these interesting or not, sucks to be you because you're either going to watch it or not. I'm happy on giving my opinion. If you like it, that's great. If you don't, that's fine too because, hey, we live in a free country. You can ignore my big mouth or not. And also, I think I've never said this before, but please, I love hearing more movies. Give me recommendations. Right now, I have a list of like two or three piles worth from my friend Tom, who gives me tons of recommendations. So that should give me going for a while. Some of them I've already seen, or some of them I've seen, but it's been so long that I can't even remember kind of plot points of them. So maybe I'll rewatch some of them too. Some of them I've rewatched even though I've watched probably in the last 3 years, including Burial Ground, which the more I watch it, the more it makes me not want to breed. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. You probably can just Google it to find it out. Anyways, thank you for watching this. Next time I'll probably have the actual camera, so I don't have these trippy like Inagata Davida trails or whatever. Thank you and have a great day.